Welcome to the SBR NHL Double Play of the Day video. It's Tuesday, December 31st, New Year's Eve, our final video, and one of the final videos on the SBR channel for the year 2019. I believe there's only one show or video later today after us doing this one. So we're looking forward to it, breaking down not breaking down the Tuesday card, but giving you our top plays from this New Year's Eve card. This is a big card as expected because of the fact the NHL, as they normally do on New Year's Day, goes with just the one game, that being the Winter Classic, which this year is Nashville and Dallas. So as a result, most teams in action today, a few afternoon games, a lot at night games. So we'll get right to it. Let's start with Adam Booth here and his play. He got a nice winner on the last video we did with the Carolina Hurricanes getting the job done against the Washington Capitals. He's picked out an underdog, hopeful underdog winner here tonight as the Detroit Red Wings host the floundering San Jose Sharks. We have San Jose minus 165, road favorites, total 6.5 across the board. That's courtesy of SBRodds.com. Make sure you're using that every day for the best line and price with all of your wagers. I have no argument here. You're not going to see me laying minus 165 with San Jose right now. I know they did beat Philadelphia, and a little bit of a surprise there over the weekend for a first win in a long time. But we're talking about a team that has now fallen all the way to last place in the Western Conference. I've talked about their issues a ton, about how they're just absolutely, their backs are up against the wall. Well, the wall is the salary cap in this case. They're right up against it. They've made a lot of bad contracts, a lot of bad signings. They have a defense that, to me, is very overrated. Carlson and Burns, from a defensive perspective, are overrated. I know they can shoot the puck. They can rush the puck. They're good at offensively getting the transition game started, but they're a little bit of a liability at times defensively. And then the rest of them are really, it can be a disaster at times for the Sharks defensively. Brendan Dillon's a slow skater. They have a bunch of those type of players on the blue line, compounded with goaltending that, you just don't trust either San Jose goalie, Martin Jones or Aaron Dell, on a nightly basis. You got the Detroit Red Wings. Certainly, they've been struggling. It's been a rough go for them. They did battle hard against Tampa Bay in their last game and fell just short. I think the effort level's still there. They're an undermanned team. They've had so many injuries to deal with. But in this kind of situation, getting this kind of price, you can see why Adam's looking toward the winged wheel at the nice underdog price in this game here tonight. Adam, tell us about it. Detroit as an underdog against San Jose.
Yeah, so if you read my articles regularly, you know that in order for a play to qualify for a play of the day, it has to be above 50% win probability. And we don't get a lot of dogs like this because that would suggest that overall, my model, my projections are not similar at all to the market. And so even in spots like today where I have the Wings at 51%, marginally above a coin flip, it's 10-11% difference between what we're seeing on the market line at plus 140, almost at plus 150 at the moment. So I am not going to make a case at all today that the Wings are a good team, that they should dominate the Sharks, that they should blow them out, that they've got better goaltending, better defense, better offense, better leadership, better coaching. I mean, I'm almost saying go the other way here, but as you know, my angle and approach to sports betting in any market is where's the value lie? And sometimes it's on a favorite. Today, for my play of the day, it's on a very undervalued Detroit team that, sure, they only have 2 wins in December. But guess what other team only has 2 wins in December? It's the road favorites here, as Ian mentioned. I don't know how anyone can look at the Sharks, and this isn't meant to sort of criticize people that say, Detroit is the worst team. San Jose is going to pick it up in the second half of the season. Well, according to some analytics guys that I was looking at their Twitter feed this week, Detroit's one of the teams that's going to start to pick it up in the second half of the season too. Do I think that they're going to end the season at 18 wins? No, I do think they'll hit that 25 mark. They'll still be probably last in the league and all that. And so if you want to just say, I'm going to bet against Detroit for the rest of the season, that's your approach. That's fine. But I love that the Wings are so undervalued here. And even though, they're averaging 2 goals, under 2.5 goals on the season on their offense, they're at, 3.5 goals against on the defense. The Sharks are almost equally as bad, and they are the road team. They are the short price. Again, if Detroit was 1.8 today, I'd be looking at the Sharks here. Sorry, 1.8 minus 125, because again, the value would be at the Sharks at almost a coin flip. So it's not about making an argument that the Detroit team is going to win today. It's about saying, if this game is going to a shootout, which, given how inconsistent the Sharks have been, certainly could. It went to a shootout or overtime in their last meeting where the Sharks won 4-3. Would I want to have the chalky road favorite in that spot? And absolutely not. So that's kind of the whole angle here. And what more can I say? I mean, the Sharks, before the drubbing of the Flyers the other night, we were on the Sharks as a small home favorite, a small home dog. They had lost 10 of their previous 11, and this is after the coaching change. And we've talked a little bit on the show about, coaching change should bring improvement. It should create urgency in the locker room. Now, it was mentioned before the Flyers game that there was a, closed door meeting that, a lot of people were given a platform to voice concerns. A lot of people were called out. This is locker room chatter where people are just being honest. Can it make a difference? Yeah. I mean, we saw a good result in that one game. Is that a sign of things to come overall for the season? Perhaps it does spur the Sharks to now, start to move up a little bit in the standings, but there's no way they're deserving of this price today. It's not even close. And you look beyond maybe the names on the roster and you say, really, the numbers to any other teams, I would be on the home team if this wasn't Detroit. Forget the records coming in. Forget the losing 6 in a row. Even if the Sharks lose in the previous meeting against Philly, we don't see a number like this on them. So, I guess that's kind of all there is to say. I mean, two teams with, colleagues of mine will say don't get involved when there's two bad teams. I understand that as well. But when the number is this far to the value side on the home team, I have to look at it. So Detroit's this is the first time I'm taking them for a play of the day all season, because we haven't had them above 50% to win a game all season. They're still only marginally there. I've elaborated a bit more on this in the article, but again, I'm not making a case for Detroit being a good team or a better team. It's simply that the probability is not nearly what it should be on the market line. So, and I think, Ian, as you said, you wouldn't go with the Sharks here, but it's probably a pass for you, understandably.
Yeah, I mean, maybe a small bet on I'm considering a small bet on Detroit here, at least. I mean, San Jose, laying this price on the road against anybody right now with the way things have gone for them. And you mentioned how Bob Bugner and his cast of San Jose Hall of Fame All-Stars, Andy Nabokov and Mike Ricci on his coaching staff, seeing now that if that was going to shake things up, and it hasn't had that desired effect that it sometimes has with teams, like it had with Craig Berube last year in St. Louis, like it's had with Jeff Ward this year in Calgary, like it's had with Sheldon Keefe this year in Toronto. We haven't seen that bump with in performance from the team after their coaching change, after Peter DeBoer was fired, and it's because they're just not that good. That's probably why.
And I was going to add, someone in the chat just Cobra Sports just mentioned, got to make sure Jimmy Howard isn't in net. And I do agree, Bernier's been the better of the two goalies.
Yes, he has.
Howard's been pretty rough on the road, at home. But also San Jose has allowed, in their last outings on the road, let's see here, 3 goals against, 7 goals against, 5 goals against, 3 goals against. So, and I haven't looked at which goalies were in net for that, but it's just a situation where, you say maybe Howard lets in 1 or 2 softies, but if this becomes a shootout with the Sharks, where Carlson's floundering in his back end, he's getting testy with the goalies, as we've seen happen this season. Is it a situation where Howard is that much worse than Adele or a Jones? So I do appreciate his comment there. But again, you want to compare apples to apples, and you say the Sharks numbers on the back. I mean, they're 3.9 goals against on the season. Their metrics are worse in so many ways, even in comparison to the Red Wings. So anyway, let's move on to yours now, Ian.
Yeah, my best, so Detroit for Adam, plus 140, his play of the day. Mine is the Toronto Maple Leafs Minnesota Wild matchup. We have Toronto right now currently minus 135, minus 140. Road favorites, the total 6, slightly shaded to the over across the board as we speak right now. And look, my best work, I think, and the times when I have the most success is when, games and plays just jump off the page at you. They hit you right between the eyes, and you don't even have to think about it for more than 2 or 3 minutes. It's like, okay, this is something you bet, and you got your reasons, and bam, you fire away. Especially in college basketball, the last few days I've had a great week or so in college basketball. The games are just flying off the board. It's like, okay, that's too many points. Okay, that total's too low, and it's just things are coming, and
you're seeing through the matrix, right?
That's right. It seems like it's so obvious, it's so clear. And you just pounce and jump on it and say, "Yep, I'll be on that right away." And this is the kind of game that I'm like, "Yeah, I'll be on Toronto, Minnesota over 6 minus 115." I will be betting Toronto over the total every single game until I see a damn 7 with their totals right now. This is the ultimate over team right now. They are all their top players are firing in terms of offensively. Austin Matthews, Mitch Marner, John Tavares, William Nylander, the big four of this hockey team. Team that they've tied up all the money in for the next several years, the players that they've tied up all the money in for the next several years, they're all going at the same time. They're all playing very well at the same time. They're all producing offensively at the same time. And they've needed it because their defense is hideous. If you've watched the Leafs in any recent game, this team defensively, and Sheldon Keefe has resigned himself based on what he said to the media about how, you know what? If we got to win game 6-5, we're going to do it. We're not going to hamstring this team's offensive ability, creativity, and talent just to play a little bit better defense. We're not doing it. We're letting them make plays with the puck if they want to because they've got the skill to do it. Yeah. And look what the result has been since Sheldon Keefe said that quote, which was about a week and a half ago. 6 goals, 4 goals, 8 goals, 5 goals, 4 goals they've scored. But in the last 3 games, they've given up 6 goals, 4 goals, 5 goals. They've given up 30, 40 shots in games. So this is fire wagon hockey, and the coach doesn't seem to mind it here for the Toronto Maple Leafs. And to make matters worse for the Leafs, this isn't a great defensive team when they've got all the blue liners healthy and out there. Now you're without Jake Muzzin, who is the one guy that's going to put someone on their keister physically in the defensive zone, a guy that's going to clear the front of the net, a guy that's going to have a good stick, good body position, be sound defensively, and also block a ton of shots, be out there every single time on the penalty kill. And now he's out for at least a few weeks with a broken foot. So you're taking away the one guy that consistently on this Toronto Maple Leafs blue line defends at a pretty decent level. The rest of them, forget it. I mean, Morgan Rielly's really, his defensive game, Morgan Rielly's really dropped off. Tyson Barrie struggled defensively, but that's typical for him because he's always been more of an offensive-minded defenseman throughout his career. Martin Marinchin's a very big worry defensively. Actually, Justin Hall's the one guy that's played well. Dermott and Ceci have struggled, the third pair defensively. This is just, and you see it. They're giving up odd man rushes. They're coughing up the puck. They're putting the puck in areas where the opposition gets a prime scoring chance out of it. And it's happened time and time again, game in and game out with the Leafs lately. And say what you will about Minnesota, that we know offensively it comes and goes for them. But remember, they beat Colorado 6-4. They did get shut down by the Islanders in their last game 3-1. But the Islanders were really coming into that game focused defensively. Barry Trotz was really upset with the decline in their defensive game lately. They got back to it against Minnesota. So they walked into an opponent focused on defense, wanting to shore that up, and they did that. That's not Toronto tonight. So I think the Minnesota Wild are going to be able still to find the back of the net. And you look at their goal scoring this year, 3.1 goals per game average. At home, it goes up to 3.31 goals per game. So they do score more goals at home. They actually have been really decent offensively on home ice this year, and I think that's going to continue tonight. Probably going to see Dubnyk and Anderson, your 2 goalies, but for as good as Freddie Anderson is, and he is good, he's still given up 4+ goals in a lot of games lately because, you just can't give up one A+ scoring chance after another, and give it out like Halloween candy to the opponent like Toronto does, these, high danger scoring chances and expect to keep your goals against down. That regardless of who's in net, that's just not going to happen. So you've seen Toronto flying over the total recently, entering this game on a 5-1 over the total run in their last 6 games, and I think that continues tonight with Toronto, Minnesota over 6 -115 as my play of the day.
I agree wholeheartedly with that. I haven't taken the full game total yet. I have taken the Wild team total over 2.5. For a lot of what you said, it's also only at 2.5 in what I think could be another barn burner. So I do agree with that. And additionally, if you look at Anderson's numbers, over, well, the Toronto numbers in general, but over the month of December, 9 games, 3, he's had a save percentage above 9.2, 4. And some of these, everything else, 90% or below. And that is a symptom of, as you said, the defensive play, as well as just Keefe making a statement that we're okay with this. As far as Toronto in general, this type of play is fine until you get down to February and March. And if you get in tight games and you're still trying to play this way, it's going to cost you. And this is not the first time that Toronto has said, let them fly. And we'll see how it goes when we build up to the playoffs. And we'll see. Anyway, that's more of a general statement on the Leafs. But I do like the over on that game. And I agree that we should start to see some more short to the under 7s shortly here if they continue to play that way. So.
All right, good stuff. Quick, since we're going to end the show, we're not breaking. I know Anna Merrick, and you're a good guy. Thanks for the question. We'd love to break down the whole card, but that's just not the gist of this video. It's just play of the day, 15 minutes or so. So I wish we could, but we can't. I will say someone did ask about the Bruins today. Be careful with the Bruins. I mean, I'm not laying -180 with them there today against New Jersey, even though they should win. They're banged up on defense. And David Krejci.
McAvoy out now. Yeah, that's right.
Now, they beat Buffalo 2 in a row and played really well defensively first couple games with all these injuries. But Buffalo's really scuffling in terms of finding the back of the net right now. And so you have to take those results with a grain of salt. Might be a little bit more difficult for the Bruins today against New Jersey. New Jersey has found some offensive flair in recent games.
Yeah, and it's an early game, right? And we sometimes say in these early games where a short favorite comes out a bit sleepy, they're a bit depleted, they haven't played with the guys stepping up on defense that are replacing very talented starting defensemen, and so it's interesting that this could be a good trap spot for the Devils. I'm on the Devils, no, I'm not looking at Bruins at that in that angle at all. No, definitely.
I agree.
Not.
I would agree. I would only take the Devils there. And again, the Devils have not been great. Obviously, they've had a dismal season overall, but there's been some pulse lately. They took Toronto to overtime, battled with Ottawa. And
they've been better since the Hull trade. Yep. I mean, let's just say it has. I'm not saying Hull has any toxicity in the dressing room or anything, but something is jiving just a little bit more. There's still, getting into it with Toronto and Ottawa, quite the shootout. Devils still have issues on their back end. They still have a little bit of running around who is supposed to be back checking and picking up what player. It's clear that they're still far from, contending for a playoff spot here, and they probably will never get to that point all season. But they finally started to get some jiving on the offensive end and aren't blowing, 3 and 4 goal leads like we saw for so much of the early season. So,
no question about it. I'm with you. New Jersey, and maybe if there's a 5.5 out there, I'll look to the over just because, again, Boston defensively depleted. When there's teams with multiple defensive injuries, I target those as over teams. I've done that successfully the last few weeks with Chicago when they've had multiple defensemen out, Ottawa when they've had multiple defensemen out. A bunch of teams. Minnesota, we talked about Spurgeon and Koivu. Koivu is close to coming back, but they haven't been the same defensive team without him. There's been teams that when you target these key injuries, cluster injuries that impact their defensive play negatively, I target those as over teams. So I would only go Devils and over in that game. All right, we got a wrap. Just to recap, Adam, Detroit plus 140 against San Jose, and I'm on Toronto, Minnesota over 6 minus 115. Those are our plays of the day for New Year's Eve, Tuesday, December 31st. Happy New Year, everyone. This is our last show in 2019. We will be back on Thursday, January 2nd, 2020, 10:15 a.m. Eastern Time with our next NHL double play of the day video. Happy New Year. Stay safe. We'll bring it in the new year tonight, but have a good time. We'll be back here Thursday in the new year, 2020, with our next play of the day video. Good luck on the ice tonight. We'll see you again on Thursday.